Hey everyone, it's live from the Hoboken Historical Museum. We're here in the upper gallery at the Hoboken Historical Museum. The show is Hoboken Talks. We broadcast every Thursday night, and we didn't really count up, but we've probably done well over 40 of these programs. And we like to invite, shall we say, important people here in Hoboken. My name is Bob Foster. I'm the director at the museum, and I'm really so glad to be here. You can be watching on YouTube and Facebook, and you do have the ability to text in a question to our guest, and we will, if it's just a shout out, that's great. But if you have a hardcore question or just want to cheer us on, that's okay also. And again, once this does broadcast, you can connect with the show just again by going on YouTube or Facebook, and we hope you do that. So tonight we have a great guest, and we're going to put his name up on the screen. It's Stuart Chirichella, and I think we've really looked forward to this interview. As I remember, we met Stu in stands maybe about 6 weeks ago, and I did ask him. So Stu, welcome to the show. Looking good.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. So we always kind of introduce our background, why we chose it. And this is a photograph from the Mecca brothers, who had an exhibit here in the upper gallery. And we think it's 1970s. 1978. Stu knows it's 1978. He's been really connected with Hoboken baseball. And why do you say 78?
I would say that, the field didn't turn turf to 2003. So
okay.
It could be the 80s, but by the uniforms, it's got definitely late 70s, early 80s. I don't think it's any further than that. If my father-in-law was here, he'd tell you in 2 seconds. He knows all. He's been playing. He was in the first year of Hoboken Little League baseball.
Okay. And so you've played on this field, you've coached on this field.
I gotta tell you, some of my fondest memories over the past, I'd say 20 years, have been on this Hoboken Little League field. I remember I was walking down the street one day in 1997, and my friend Rocco came out to me, Ricardo, and he said, "Stu, why don't you do me a favor? Help me out with this coaching league." I said, "Rock, I really don't want to coach baseball. You know what I mean? I'm not, I started coaching. I just gave it up actually last year. Well, my dad coached us in 1980. We actually turned from Hudson United Bank, that was one of our sponsors at the time, over the stands. We wound up winning the championship in 1980. My brother played on the team. I just posted a picture actually on Facebook a few weeks ago. My dad used to dance in the center of the circle. The dugouts used to be in the basement. They weren't up top the way they are now, and it was awesome. I've been coaching since 97. I've had my fondest memories. We won a championship in 2016, 2017. 16 was probably the best game in the history of Little League Baseball. We played a 10-inning thriller. We won on an inside the park hit in the bottom of the 10th. It was awesome. Matty Action, wherever you're at, I sent you this link. I hope you watch it.
Hey, so you already got someone. Obsidian Kitten has chimed in.
Okay. And I'm going to give you, sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
That's okay. I interrupted you.
The best memory I have is, me and my wife is included with this also, a young gentleman named Nick Garcia. He just had a baby. Nick, I'll give you a shout out. I'm trying to call you, Nick. I hope you're listening. I hope you're going to watch this podcast. Congratulations. I've been trying to call you for 3 days. You got me on the pay no mind list. Here's a kid who came into my life, and this is the reason I believe why. And I'll say God, because I believe in God. God put me to this place. This kid, I wound up adopting him. He wound up coming into my life. His mom died. His dad was in prison. I took him in, me and my wife, who I'm with now. And we tried with Nick. Nick didn't have it easy. It was very traumatic for him. He watched his mom die. He took care of her. She was very sick, and Nick is a good kid. And then we took him in. It didn't work out, but that's the best memory I have, is the relationships that I built and the relationships that I still maintain with kids who have children who I've coached over the years, and I'm still in touch with them on a regular basis. So it's awesome.
So I have
some great memories off that field.
Right.
And I still sponsor Chirichella Boys.
Okay.
I still have a team.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a comment from Mark Mutone.
Oh my God, Mark.
Do you want to read that?
Yeah. You read it.
Okay. Oh, it's yes. No, I know. I didn't know it connected. Yeah. Keep that up there. Stu is one of the most giving people I know. He genuinely cares for all people who he interacts with in the community. Glad to see you featured here tonight.
Mark Matone is probably one of my favorite people in the world. Mark Matone came over to Wallace to teach as soon as my daughter got in Wallace. He was my daughter's teacher early on, and he's just been a blessing in my life and my family's life. I love him to death.
Wow.
He's awesome.
So it must feel good.
He's awesome.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
That's great.
That's
In
my
which
favorite.
school, Wallace?
This is Wallace School. Yeah.
And he's
Mark,
still there?
He just left and came back. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
So a real
great
shout
man.
out to the Hoboken school teachers.
Without a doubt.
And
Best. Public school system is the best in town, and that's one of the reasons why. Mark Matone.
Right. It's
No
always
doubt about it.
people. It's always people.
Uh-huh.
It's always teachers. And so I'm just going to say, when I walk past this baseball field, I was not into baseball. It wasn't my game. And I know a lot of people have shifted to soccer, it seems.
Yeah.
Okay, baseball's still strong.
Yeah.
But when you walk by that field at dusk and the lights are coming up in New York and the lights are on the field and you smell hot dogs and whatever, you can actually get weepy just by being there.
When the Twin Towers were up and the building, I don't know who the builders were, those buildings to the right that are blocking the
Battery.
Tower would have been out.
Okay, yeah.
When the Twin Towers were up and those buildings weren't there, I mean, it was awesome. We had kids come over from Mexico. They played in a tournament down there. These kids are in awe when they see our field.
Right.
They come from all over and play All-Star game. They can't believe it.
No, I know. It's proximity, it's location.
Probably the most beautiful field in the country. I don't think anything comes close with the field.
I sort of agree. It's our field of dreams,
close, yeah.
And there's no corn stalks.
And don't forget, Hoboken invented the first 18 rules in a baseball game. We should have the Hall of Fame in Hoboken. It shouldn't even be in Cooperstown. First legitimate baseball game played in Hoboken.
Right. I don't think we're going to be able to meet Cooperstown. It's a great place, but we do agree that baseball started here before. And rules like the bases being 90 feet apart and some of the basic things today. But yeah, that field is amazing. It's amazing. And we got Sandra. Hi, Stu? How are you?
Sandra, how you doing?
Good. And Tommy, Stewie is the only true and real mayor of Hoboken.
Bobby, don't get offended on that one.
Okay.
I'm the street mayor. I always told you that.
That's right. He's definitely the mayor of the Little League field.
The street mayor.
Okay, the street mayor. Okay. We used to have that term that Hoboken had lots of mayors, and every block had a mayor.
No doubt about
and I'm not sure if that's still true, but you know what we're talking about.
Well, you know what the beauty of it was? Where, I mean, I grew up downtown Hoboken. Downtown I love. My wife's probably laughing at us. You're always going to say downtown Hoboken.
Right.
But downtown Hoboken was like, I mean, it was Brooklyn. It was New York. We were the sixth borough. I mean, I'd walk out of the house, or you'd be sleeping on a Saturday morning, right? You'd be resting in your bed, and all you hear is, laundry! The Zazzarini be on the corner selling fish. The ladies would be coming out of the buildings. The neighborhood, it was so, I mean, it started with my dad. I don't want to get into him now. I know you want to talk about that later, but getting me involved in everybody else's culture. Stu is the loudest mayor.
Here's Mark saying Stu is the loudest mayor.
I'm going to tell all you guys, stop texting because you're interrupting stories now. Kennedy, TK. TK's another one. TK's father was the man. But downtown, for me, like when I was a kid, if people remember, we had Carl's Bakery right next to Fiore's. I used to go out of the house. I used to go to Carl's Bakery. Mom used to send me go to Fiore's, go to Savelli's, which was around the corner. Everything was a walk. Everything was in the neighborhood. We had the arcades. We had across the street, our gang in the neighborhood was called the Alkies. So we had the Alkies. They had their jackets up with the Alkies on the back. But nobody, listen, the beauty of it was like Hoboken, we all respected each other. Everybody, of course, you had your fights with different, people didn't know you. It was like something that had to be done, and then you got your respect. But the neighborhood was alive. It was like still a West Side Storyfield. Across the street, we had all the Yankees hanging out. We had all my guys on the corner on Adams Street. Yeah, it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
So, what's your circle of neighborhood?
My neighborhood, I would come out and go downtown to the left on Jefferson Street. Now, Nafio, who had the hot dog wagon for years, Nafio Mazzola's last event was actually my wedding to my first wife. That's the last event he made. So Nafio's a cousin of mine. Then we go down to Jefferson Street that way, where my grandmother's brothers grew up, Gabriel. And we had John DeRico, my cousin John there. We had all the DeRicos in one building on Jefferson Street in between 4th 4th and 5th in Jefferson. Then I had my family was on Adams Street. We had 2 buildings. We had 328 Adams. We had 330 Adams. On 328 Adams, my great-grandmother had the candy store on the bottom. My aunt lived in the building. My other aunt lived in the building. My Uncle Joey, who was a fireman, lived in the building. My Uncle Angelo, who was the detective, lived in the building. In my building, we had my great-grandmother on the 1st floor. My grandmother lived there throughout her life. We had a few renters, and then we had our apartment was converted by my grandfather when my mother and father got married. So we had Adams Street down to Jefferson, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome.
That's a lot of votes.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Well, they're not around no more, the people.
That's right. That's true. That's true. That's true. So we have Mildred Reyes. It's your mail lady. Congratulations.
Millie, you let me know if you're back, because I have to talk to you.
So she's your mail.
Millie, yeah, Millie's the best.
Okay.
She's the hardest worker in town, Millie.
Is she in the Grand Street post
Millie's
office?
on the main post office.
The main
She's
post
in the main.
office.
She does her route. She walks all day.
Oh, she's the walker. Okay,
Yeah,
she's in there.
Millie's
Yeah,
a real deal. She's in Puerto Rico, just coming off Puerto Rico.
We've had shout outs to the teachers of Hoboken and now the mail people, mail persons
There's
of Hoboken.
the city clerk right there.
Yeah, Stu Rock, you're a Hoboken legend, and we can hear you a block away.
Jerry,
can we get a free
back from the mic, Jerry? What do you want me to do?
Can we get a freestyle Friday already?
He does make me do raps, Jerry. He got me rapping, this guy. He thinks
Really?
That's my producer, Jerry.
Okay, so can we get Jimmy Farina rapping?
Jimmy, that's a good one. We could write one for him. Why not?
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we should do
Get
that.
him up here. We got to do it early in the morning. Though.
Right.
We'll get him though.
Okay, sounds good. John Rodriguez, a true red-blooded Hobokenite, a great rep for old school Hoboken.
I like that.
That's a good one.
That's
a
good
one
right there.
Yeah, sure,
That's
definitely.
a badge honor.
I like it. So we're gonna go keep these comments coming. We love them. Sometimes, like we're in this intense conversation and we miss them, but we'll keep them up for a minute so we see it. And we're gonna move forward with some images. Here's Donald. Oh, Donald.
That's the man.
Oh, hello, Stu. I'm happy you made it on Hoboken Talks with Bob. Quack, quack.
Donald he really has the history of Hoboken, Donald.
Yes.
He had cameras, the throwaway cameras, when we were out there when we were teenagers.
Really?
Has more, you would love to sit down with Doug and see his photography. He'd be great to bring on the show. Just put pictures up.
I would like to get Donald. I'd like to get his sister, and I would love to get his mother.
So get ready.
So we've talked about it.
Great pictures.
I didn't know about the pictures.
Good friend.
Yeah, right.
I hung out with Ducky's house many
Sure.
years on the side street over there.
I can
It
imagine.
was like family. His mom was like family.
Yeah, his
I don't even
mom.
want to get into the stories.
His mom is great.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah, sure.
They're the best.
Okay.
Ducky, the Hawaiian party. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, Donald, we're on to you.
Ducky.
Okay.
That's my boy.
So we're going to try to move on, but I do love all this live comment.
Wow.
So who are these people?
So to the right, that is my grandfather, Vic. That is my dad's dad. That's my grandmother, Rose. And I'm pretty sure on the left end, that is my father's brother and his wife. This is obviously their wedding. This has to be late 30s. My father was born in 43. So this has to be at least, I would say 38, 39, or in early 40s.
Sure.
So my grandfather, Vic, believe it or not, World War II fighter pilot, worked on the piers. Heard he was a tough guy. Never known him. He died before I was born. Died in 1968. My grandmother Rose, I was just at the cemetery on Christmas, actually. I take pictures all the time of the tombstone. My grandmother Rose, my both grandmothers, I was their favorite. I was her favorite too. She was right next door to me. I'd go up there and I never forget it. She worked, I believe, for the city. She worked in the lunch program. She always had the lunches in the refrigerator. Remember the lunches?
Sure.
Wrap them up.
Yeah.
Take the peach out. And you don't want the sandwich. You drank your juice, whatever. And I was always at her house. And she was tough. Grandma Rose was tough. She was one of my favorites too. I loved her. And like I said, for me, I was always family oriented. It was awesome, man. I had my family around. I believe today that's what the kids are missing, because like a kid will walk home from school. My daughter comes home, she has my wife home, which is beautiful. But like, there's no more. Like a kid would come home and go to grandma's house. The parents are both working. They're with a nanny. we grew up. Father Mike always said it. You remember Father Mike?
Sure.
Another president, another cousin of mine.
Yes.
He said they'd be at the dinner table every day. They always ate dinner together. There was always talk, and it was awesome.
Right.
So that's, and I never met my grandfather's brother. Talk about recovery, Judy Beckmine. There you go. All right, Judy, I got you. We'll get there. We got 14 minutes in already. We got to get rolling here. We're wasting time.
We're just warming up. So hang in there.
I never met my grandfather's brother. Maybe I of course I didn't, because I wasn't born yet. He didn't know me, but my brother Vic is Vic the Third. He's named after my grandfather. My dad was Vic the Second, and my brother. Oh no, and then I have a nephew, Vic the Fourth. So my grandfather's legacy is still going proud on it, and that's awesome. So I wish I could have known him. It's a shame. And died 48 years old of a heart attack. I was telling Bob earlier before the show. I believe he was at a political rally or a political event. He was just dancing on the dance floor. From what I gather, I mean, you hear so many stories. Nobody, but that's what I heard. He collapsed. That was it.
And I see a resemblance.
And without doubt. And I remember the hairdo was the same too.
Yeah.
and I remember the day where I looked out the window. I was 9 years old, 1979. My grandmother died. And I remember they were taking her on the stretcher. I remember clear as day. Like it was yesterday.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Okay, we're moving on.
Now that's my dad and his brother. So I never knew him. He looks like Telly Savalas a little bit.
He does. Definitely. But a very cool photo.
My grandfather. I'm sorry.
So this is your grandfather.
That's my grandfather
on the right.
On the right. I'm sorry. That's his brother. I guess they just came back at the time from the war. And those were good. You know what? It was those. I mean, that's what men were men. But when they came back, they had the PS to go to. It was awesome for those guys. They always had opportunity, which was opposed to maybe the Vietnam guys and stuff like that. But it was always, and a lot of the thing I remember the most about my grandfather and a lot of other old timers that I knew from downtown the neighborhood, they all worked on the piers, they all worked on their own buildings. You know what I mean? It was awesome. They had good opportunity for them.
Right.
It's like those things dwindle away for the blue collar guy pretty fast.
Right. Well, walking to work was a common thing because everyone
and it was you had to work. You had to work to eat. I mean, that was
but
it.
You probably owned a car, but maybe not. But you could just walk to work.
Yeah.
Now,
and make good money.
Yeah. No, and help their families. Obviously, this could be when they were going too.
Maybe.
Maybe on there.
There's nobody to ask.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah, we can make up our own story.
There you go.
Okay. And we're going ahead. Wow, it's a nice crowd.
Look at that. I would probably. Of course, my dad is to the bottom right with the birthday hat on right there. But everybody, it might be Joe Rabbi. I'm not sure in that picture somewhere. I couldn't tell you who probably anybody else was in that picture. Now, here's a sad history of mine. Like when my mom and dad divorced, the other side of the family, we became distant. So, and they still reach out to me. My cousin Marianne. My Aunt Antoinette, rest her soul, was my father's sister. My Uncle Ronald, I tried to reach out to him recently. He's in New York somewhere. He never responds, because I want to, sit down with him and talk. It's been 30 years. We have, there's a lot of questions I want to ask.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, and that's my dad there on the right side. I mean, and that's my guy. He looks exactly like my brother and my little nephews when they were small.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, if, where do I begin with him? I mean, there's a guy who gave me, like I said, I adopted that kid before. If it wasn't for my father putting the sports end into my life, I would never had that blessing and be blessed to go on and have all these relationships I have with these kids. And sport, one of the greatest gifts I got. And you don't want to talk about, I did this and I did that. All I am is an instrument and a tool for these kids, and I try to build their confidence. The lady came up to me one day. I was with my wife in Panera, and she says, "Hey, Stu, I just want to thank you, for working with my son and pushing him a little bit because he's playing D1 soccer right now. And for him to be there, it was like you were pushing him when he was on the field. I told him at every different position. I said, talk to him. Like, don't worry about it. Just go out there, give it a shot. You'll be fine. Like, give him tough love, but, I pumped him up. And that was probably one of the greatest gifts I ever received from him. Well, I mean, I love winning the championships too, but I mean, it's very rewarding. And he gave me all that. My father gave me the love of sports as a young kid. I mean, track star, Jersey City State. He loved track. That was my first love. I believe you become an athlete by running track, because you learn how to move and cut and move around. And we had a track team running out of St. Francis Parish. St. Francis Parish was a thriving parish back in the 70s and 80s. They had a bowling lane in St. Francis at the time. It was awesome. So every school in town ran track through St. Francis, and my father was a coach. Therefore, a shy kid like me, 10 years old and 9 years old, all these kids from all different neighborhoods are running with us. And I became the little brother of so many kids from downtown the projects and Monroe and Madison. And wherever I walked, people love me. Stu's the only guy in Hoboken that doesn't have a nickname. Who's that? That's Tommy's cousin. Stu Rock, they call me. Get out of here. What are you talking about?
Stu Rock?
Stu Rock.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Stugatz. Skills. That's Skills. He's out in California. That gentleman there opened up Hoboken Pizza in San Diego, California.
Oh,
on
yeah.
that avenue. And he got it from Hoboken. He got it from us. He took it. He's still, I love Hoboken so much. He'll make that. Skills. He's from West Orange. Good kid.
Okay.
Great baseball player, too, right there.
Right. So when they ran track, where are they running?
We used to practice, say, maybe in the parking lot in St. Francis at the time.
On the corner there? On the corner?
Company gave that to St. Francis for $1, that it would be used as a playground for kids. So we'd practice.
And parking on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. So we'd I can't say no, because I parked there many, many nights. Thank you, Father Chris, Father Mike, of course. Rest in peace. And, we practiced everywhere, but we'd have our meets in 440 in Jersey City. In the Armory, four young ladies, Pamela Bates, rest her soul, Janet Nunn, Paulette DeGator, and I believe Linda Bates might still hold the relay record from the 70s or early 80s.
So that's
how fast he's growing. And it was good. My father loved it. He was a track guy, and every year would be whatever season it was football, it was baseball, it was basketball, whatever it was, the season was, we played it.
Right. So when you're talking about the Armory, you mean in Jersey City on Montgomery?
It's still active, or it's just
I've been inside. They have it set up for basketball and track. You're right. It's enormous. It's a whole block.
And I think the reserves.
Yeah,
the Army Reserve.
Right.
Yeah,
but it's dormant a lot. It seems.
And it's
when you go in there, you're from the outside. It's kind of this hulking, big place, like a fort.
Big place.
And you go in and you go, holy moly! Just the echo is amazing.
Right. And then we used to run when it was nice. Obviously, it was springtime in 440 Jersey City. So we had great meet center. I met all these guys from downtown. Lenny Jones. Lenny, I don't know where you're at. Lenny was my man. We had it was awesome. Bugs. James Bates, who took me under his wing and used to walk me up to the Little League field when I had my helmet and I was playing tackle football. I was a little guy. And all these guys, they embraced me. And it's all due to my father.
Wow.
The love he gave me for sports, and the love he showed me,
Sure. But it's awesome. Great you've been able to connect,
Without a doubt.
Yeah. You're really revving up here. The sports thing is,
it's going fast. 22 minutes. Come on, we're killing time here.
No, we're not. We're not spinning wheels. Okay. So
there you go. There's my mom. Now this lady here.
Beautiful couple.
Without my mom, there is no way you'll see me sitting here today. Without a doubt, it's my mother's prayers that had me here. My mother never gave up. I'm not going to cry. My mom was like, you got to cry on the show. Don't cry. Because it's emotional for me. I mean, this lady, I'm going to tell you right now, and she never gave up on me. My mother never gave up. It started to get to a point where I was in the Hoboken police station saying, "Ma, I need $100 for bail." And she was like, click. She helped me, but it was like, but my mom, and she was tough. My mom didn't take no shit. I'm telling you right now, the way she raised me, and especially when, just to put it out there to everybody who knows, it's no secret, I'm sober for 30 years. I've got sober. I was one of the lucky kids that got it when he was 21 years old. I believe if I didn't get it at that early age, you wouldn't see me sitting here today. There's no doubt about it. And my mother was always in the trenches with me, and I put it through hell. I remember when I went away the second time, I wrote her a letter and I said, just so you know, Mom, I'm done. You know what I mean? Just so she knew. And I really felt that in my heart of hearts. And I was. It was 1991, October 9th. I went away and I started this beautiful journey of recovery. But without my mom in my life at the time, I don't think it would have happened. And my mom didn't have it easy. My mom and dad divorced. I won't get into details. It didn't work. It didn't work. We know relationships are tough. We know this. So at the time, my dad was an alcoholic. You know what I mean? So he was a heavy drinker, and that's I shouldn't have the rest of the story is self-explanatory. You know what I mean? He was a Wall Street guy in the 70s. There were no Wall Street people in the 70s in Hoboken. Very, very few. And these two were the next generation, no longer known as, blue collar workers. They were getting into the white collar field. No longer known, if I say, as guineas off the boat or poor Italians. They were presented an opportunity from their parents working so hard My father was a Wall Street guy. My mother worked in the banking industry for a lot of years. She worked over in New York. She was a yuppie too, my mom. So there you go. So my mom was probably one of the first yuppies that hit the trains and went over to New York and worked. But my dad, I mean, that was my guy. But my mom, love her to death. She lives down in Toms River now. She's remarried. I always say one of the biggest honors that I got in my life is I get choked up all the time.
That's cool.
Oh, my wife's not looking. Is when my mom, she's probably watching my mom. My mom asked me, she says, "What do you think about me getting remarried?" Like just to think of me in that light, like my opinion mattered, because it's emotional for me. My mom went to bat for me. I will not be sitting here today if it wasn't my mom. And then, like I said, when I did another rehab thing again, Stewie has helped me. Who's that? Kenny Metcalf. There he is. So when I came home from that rehab, my mom, thank God she did what she did. She showed me tough love. She told me, get up, go get a job. The game time is over. You're not going to sit around here all day, because I know plenty of people in their 50s that are still, "Mommy, I need this. Mommy," it's sad. And they're good friends of mine. And I stood with them all those years. I'm just starting to cut people off now after 30 years. It's like, come on, man. Walk with me a little bit. You know what I mean? Sure. Like, I'm here for you. I'll kill for you. But come on, let's go together. But without her planting the foundation, and I wanted it. I didn't want to be that person anymore. I wanted to be a better person. And it's not about being good or bad. It's about having a disease and taking care of yourself and taking the proper steps to get better and making it a way of life. See, that's what everybody doesn't get. Like, when you want to get sober, you want to change your life, it has to be a lifestyle. It's not just something you do once in a while, and thank God she put that into play for me.
Let's hear
it. All right, Ma, I hope you're hearing that, Ma.
That was beautiful, Ma. I feel like I know you.
76. She'll be 77 this year. Young. She still looks a little older than that, my mother. Right. She always looks young.
Sure. And so how old are you when there's that eventual realization?
When I got sober?
Yeah.
21 years old.
Okay.
21-year-old kid. I actually, my first experience was when I was 17. I was a troubled kid, to say the least. I had a whole bunch of charges on me, and fighting and selling drugs and all that bad stuff. And, I was first put into my first outpatient program in 1988 with my good friend Peanut, rest his soul. We used to walk up there together, and we used to go in, and I hear speakers come in, and I immediately knew, I identified, there was no like, oh, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I knew it. The jig was up. The point was, did I want to stop? So 1988, I entered my first rehab. I blew it after that. I went back out, started drinking again. Then I came back in 1991, October 9th. It was my last day. And I actually went, I called my mom up. It was 1991. She's working in New York. I called her up. I said, "Mom, look, am I still covered? If I'm still covered on insurance, I'm going, because I'm done. I had enough. That's just it." And I was covered, thank God. Because if I wasn't, and I had it. See, for me, I had to get out of the neighborhood. There was no way I was going to do it and survive, like, and hang there and just do it. It wasn't going to happen. I had to be removed. So I go to the second rehab, which was the same place. I go to the second time, and the rest is history, like they say. Wow. There's my man, Kurt Campbell. Here's one of the guys.
He knows Stu Rock.
I got to talk about my man. See what he put up there? My man, Stu Rock. And Kurt, we got to talk about our boy Esley, because there's two guys. Now, a lot of people don't know, like they say, "Oh, these kids are bad today." These kids, I don't believe I believe these kids are good kids, put it that way. Kids are always going to be kids, but compared to what we were when we were at that age, in 12 and 13 and 14 and teenagers, that man that just came on the screen probably saved my life a million times, and his friend Esley. Now, these two guys were always around me. They were like bodyguards. I was a little kid with big ears. You saw the picture, right? Walking around town. Where am I going? You know what I mean? But Kurt, actually, and Esley, we were always involved in sports. We always played sports. The bats and balls went away after a while, after we started hanging down by the river down here and drinking and doing all that other crazy stuff. But these were my guys, man, and they protected me. Right. They protected me. But that was the love we had. And the streets were rough. You could walk. I could come out of Adams Street and go down 2 blocks to Madison Street and get robbed.
Right.
I mean, you know, there's no secret here. There's hundreds of people hanging out on the street at the time, older, younger, people doing drugs. I'd go around the corner by my house. My friend Anthony's friends are all out in lounge chairs, hanging out during the course of the day, hanging out in the bar. It was just one big hangout, you know.
Right.
If you roll to the wrong block, you know, I carry a lot of that with me. I worry. My daughter walks the streets. It's not Hoboken back then. I always say I wouldn't want my daughter growing up in the Hoboken I grew up in. I wouldn't. It was tough, but it was good lessons. We learned a lot of lessons. We learned people skills, you know, but it was not an easy walk. It wasn't.
Right. So let's see. Rand just brought this up. I think the cue was. I think my ears were smaller there. Yeah, what happened? I didn't get bigger. Right. The cue was big ears. So Rand picked that photo.
Okay, so let's talk about this crew right here. My brother in the back to the right, me to the left with the tie on. My little cousin Monique, which is my uncle Anthony, my mother's brother's kid. We'll talk about that. And then Anthony, which is my mother's brother's kid, little Anthony. My cousin Tina, Michelle, Michael, Patrick, my Aunt Betty, and my Uncle Michael's kids, my mother's brother. My cousin Danielle and Joseph, I believe, is right there. Those are my Aunt Camilla's kids. So these are all my first cousins. Now this was Christmas time. Now this is a late Christmas, I remember, because I'm a little older. I might have even been sober there. I don't know. If you can really check my eyes, I would know. But we'd have Christmas. That was our room, the back room there. See, now, when my grandfather converted these 2 apartments on 330 Adams, there was one problem. They forgot the heat. So, I mean, you know how it was back in the day. All there was a little stove in the kitchen. And, like, what I do, like, I'd hear my dad get up, because my dad's a Wall Street guy. You know, so he'd be out in the rush in the morning, and like I get up, and everybody would. It was like a tribe huddling by the fire.
You had all those people to make it warm up.
Yeah, but that was at Christmas time. But on a regular, I'm saying that apartment, my God. But this is, and all my cousins, everybody's still here, thank God.
Right.
I don't really stay in touch with all of them all the time. Once in a while, I see my cousin Michelle. My cousin Michelle's a nurse, very good woman, adopted a kid, took a kid in her life. She's good people. My cousin Michael had a kid. Everybody there, actually, except Monique and Anthony, has children. So everybody has children. The generations are growing up. Those are the Ocellos and the Gators. The Gators are a popular name downtown Hoboken, my Uncle Joe. And that's the crew.
So who's wearing all those
Look at all
hats?
the hats. See the hats? That's my stuff. Those are my hats. One of my brother's hats. The little trophies. See the trophies there to the right side?
Is that track or baseball?
I have no idea. Yeah. I can't see the top. I think it'll probably be baseball.
Or right now,
I think it's sportsmanship award.
Okay.
1984.
It's kind of part of the coat rack.
Yeah, that's it. But that was, look at the apartment. That's what it was, old school.
And
Look at this picture. My God. So look at the ears on me. Listen to this picture. Show even my ears. Yeah.
So you're top row, third from the right.
Second one in from the right.
Second.
Top row,
sorry.
One in from the right.
I was counting the teacher.
I still got that little thing in the front of my hair right here. It's good. These are all my boys. Sammy Giovini up top. Claudio. Tommy Brereton. I don't know if that's Tommy Pascal. I'm not sure. Enzo. Anthony Marone. Richie Peluso.
So I'm going to say, how many people are you in touch with or still live in town?
I'm in touch with Vinny DePinto, still a fireman right there. Tommy Brereton, I see on Facebook here and there. Anthony Marone here and there. Richie Peluso. Not really many of them. Not in touch. Not in touch on the telephone. That's Lisa Capelli in the front. She was my veterinarian. We actually put our dog down. Me, Lisa, and my wife were crying big time a few years ago. She's the best, Lisa. I used to go there all the time with the dog. You know, dog veterinarians. Lisa, please keep me on the 300, please. James Ervelino, I see over there. That was my kindergarten class. That was Miss Ida. You know, the irony of it is today, like we have our meetings for recovery, and they're in that room in my kindergarten class. And if you walked in there, it's the same. It looks the same. The same windows are there. The heaters are on the bottom. Nothing has changed since 1976.
Except you.
Except me. Yeah, thank God. Gwendolyn Drayton, which is Dream Drayton's daughter there.
Sure.
Retired police officer. There's Gwen. Patty Shanklapore. We got some crew there, man.
Right. And is there any significance to the blue ink crossing out people?
That's me just writing on there.
Okay, didn't know if they were like persona non grata. Okay, cool. Okay, 1975, 76. You look like the little Fonz there. That's a great shot.
Crazy. Not a good picture. I don't know.
You don't like that?
That party was actually my grandma's retirement party. She was 62. I couldn't tell you what year that was. It might have been 1980.
Right.
So now let's talk about my grandmother for a minute. Here was a lady. Remember the Mona Lisa factory down on Madison Street? It was called the Mona Lisa. Had a big sign outside, Mona Lisa. My grandmother
It's on First Street?
It's on 3rd.
Okay.
No, 4th and Jefferson.
I kind of remember.
It spanned from 4th and Jefferson,
Right.
half the block, and went around the corner where the nail salon is around the corner down there to the corner
Right.
of 4th. And they renovated the whole building. So
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
it
I remember the name, but I can't see it.
went from Jeff to Madison. And she worked in factories her whole life. You know, my grandma, I'm not even sure what year of schooling she went to. And her mom, I remember my great grandmother. All I remember is, you know, she used to sing "Cella Luna." We used to hear all the old Italian songs in the house. But see, the Italian stopped with my great grandmother. My grandmother knew it, but never spoke it. I hear her speaking to some old ladies in the neighborhood sometimes. But my mom we never got that. I was always jealous. I was always jealous because next door we had Nicky Ciccarella and John DeCesar. Now these guys spoke fluent Italian because both their parents came over. You know, my parents didn't. My parents were here. My grandmother never came over.
Right.
So, and John DeCesa's still on that corner. He's still down there.
But they were the original yuppies, so they want to Americanize.
Oh,
right?
yeah. The first yuppies.
Yeah.
No offense to you.
No. It's funny, a lot of people don't even know that term anymore.
Nah,
it was very big in the 80s and 90s.
Got the Gothamites downtown, right?
What do you call it?
The Gothamites in town.
I don't even know that term.
The Gothamites from
Okay.
New York, yeah.
Yeah, Gothamites. Okay.
There you go.
And we're back on the field.
That's where it all started. You know what? Baseball, I could have been a lot better, but I mean, and early on I didn't like baseball. Like football was my favorite sport. But that was Hudson United Bank. That was 1979. My dad's out there somewhere. I don't know who that is on first base coaching over there. But this is where it all started for me. I mean, look at the dugout. See the dugout in the basement?
Yeah.
So before a game back then, you'd probably have to go in and clear out a few bums who were sleeping, who were drinking. You know what I mean? So you'd have to get them out of the dugout. They slept in there regularly, and then the game would get started.
Right.
But look at the shape of the park, man. Imagine. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the facility down at our Field of Dreams
beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. See, back then you really learned how to feel the ball because all the balls you hit out to the kids today on turf, the ball stays down on the ground. No jumps.
No bounces.
Back then you got to jump in the face. You come home with a black eye. You get your missing. When you hit a ball, you hit a ball hard. You know, look at the bats. We're still swinging with wooden bats.
Yeah.
A lot of them at the time. And those aluminum bats were like, they weren't worth nothing, you know. But next year we transferred over and we became Stans. So Danny from Stans. Hi, Danny. I don't think Danny's listening, but Danny took over the team, sponsors the team, and we were Stans. And Stans is still existing in the Hoboken Little League.
Yeah.
And we won a championship. We had the most fun of my life. That guy, Kurt, he used to be in the dugout with us whistling. The charging. Everybody yelled, it was awesome. Freddie Vargas from Jersey City, his whole family used to come down. They'd have the bongos in the stands. I mean, it was classic, man. These kids don't know. I try to tell them all the time, you guys don't know what it was like. It was unreal, man. It was unreal. But today you have like two parents in the stands. The parents are where I understand. It's a different time. It's a different world. I get it. But then, you know, there's no like support. You know, like the seats were filled when we played the championships a few times.
Right.
Yeah, you know, it was nice. But you missed that. It was on a regular. Hoboken was just, you know, it was a different type of town back then.
Well, you didn't have other competing sports as much. I mean,
That's
there's
a good
football,
point.
baseball.
Now
you have soccer, you have field hockey, you know, other sports. So it's a little diluted.
Leo Pellegrini does a good job with the soccer and all that
stuff.
But I tell the kids all the time, I said, they'll come with their soccer cleats on the practice. I said, when you play soccer, you can run out in the game and, you know, you're in a rhythm, stretch a little bit, you pull a hamstring. When you play baseball, it's different. You got to practice more. You got to get your swings. You got to get your round balls. You got to get your cuts. So I used to yell at them all the time, miss the soccer practice. Don't miss the baseball practice. But, you know, what are you going to do? Kids, and listen, and I mean, if it was around popular when we were young, maybe we would have played. It wasn't popular when we were young. You know, it was a few. Like Leo played soccer. Nicky Ciccarella next door to me played soccer. It wasn't a big thing back then. It was European sport. It wasn't really Americanized, you know?
Right.
We had the Cosmos, I guess, you know, it was a little bit of soccer, right? But not much.
Sure. And so this uniform is kind of a
oh my God,
blue,
those probably
yellow.
The worst uniforms in the history. Those are brown.
Brown.
The way it felt on your body. I mean, like see the shirt. I got the yellow shirt underneath. You had to wear something under there. It was
because it's
brown and yellow. Oh, terrible. Then you had the yellow socks. You don't see those no more. I had to slip over socks.
Right.
You don't have them no more.
Sure.
Unbelievable.
Right. Okay, we're moving on.
Oh, look at this guy.
21. It's 21. That's the year.
This is 1991. 21-year-old kid. I'm still in that apartment at 330 Adams Street. I believe this is might be this is 91. This is 91. I was actually not even sober yet. I did not get sober till October of 91. So This is May of 91 right here.
Wow.
And the change was going to happen. It was going to happen.
Right.
I wasn't in bad shape, right? We're on the street.
No, you look great. You look like.
Is that a 2-1? There's 3 candles on there. It might be a 2-2. See the candle in the back? Because I look too good there to be a recovery. Come on. To not be a recovery.
You can make it whatever you want.
I know. There's another candle. It's weird.
Yeah, that's true.
The hair's always there, though. Look at the hair. Still going.
Okay.
There's my man, Kevin Toomey. This was 1993. Believe it or not, guys, I should do a little bit on the rapping side. I actually had a good rapper. He was going to make it. My boy, Jay Henney. He's still doing his thing. When I say he was going to make it, we were with a guy at the time that was in the business deep, and he's still deep now, but it just didn't work out with him. John was always doing his thing. John was deadly. He still is. He still does his thing on the microphone. But back then, I had a little rap that I did for Kevin's for thing. And Kevin, this is what, I'm sorry. I'm losing train of thought here.
That's okay.
This was Kevin's political rally party right here. Bobo, see?
Okay,
and,
Bobo from
and he
Mars.
had hair back then. And he was running for mayor. Now, here's who was running for mayor. Anthony Russo was running for mayor at the time. And Ira was running for mayor at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So this was that race.
Yeah.
So Anthony wanted every vote he could get. I mean, Anthony was always close. Anthony, I always push, when he became councilman, I was right there with him in the trenches. When he became mayor, I was right there with him in the trenches. I was always with Anthony. I loved him. That was my man. Rest in peace. And he came up to me and said, Stewie, please talk to Kevin. Get him out of the race, please. We need all the votes we can get here. He's going to take votes away from me. I said, I'll talk to him. I'll see what we can do. And Kevin didn't actually get out of the race. He still stood in the race the whole time because he ran. He was legitimately a candidate. He never got out.
Right.
And shortly after that, all Hoboken people always come together. He became the city health inspector. Mm-hmm. He's a retired city health inspector and he's a retired firefighter. Right. So he's doing well.
Sure.
And here's a guy. Now I got to say it. So let me say it now. Look at this, courage to change. Bobo, the campaign slogan. That's right.
I love that.
Here's a story about this gentleman, and the most significant story. He made the call to save my life, because if he didn't make the call, when I saw him on October 8th, 1991, the 9th is when I came out. The 9th, actually, my sobriety date's John Lennon's birthday, October 9th. So October 8th, I see him and I say, look, I'm done. He goes, that's after I call my mom, I run into him, which was set up, I believe, no doubt about it. So he takes me to his house and he says, look, this kid's got to go away now. He made the call for me, got me away. We went to the same place, actually, me and him. That's my man.
So the idea that you're the one who has to decide.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can have great support, but if you don't want to do it, you're just going to go back and, it's an illness.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Cool.
Look at the heads on him. That's nice.
Yeah, I'd love to get Kevin here.
He'll come.
Eventually.
That'd
be wonderful. We always have a good time talking.
Yeah, he's the best. He knows everything.
Yeah, he
knows everything.
We've had exhibits up here in the upper gallery, and he'll see a picture of like an amusement ride, and he'll just know what street it's on, and it's kind of an incredible recall. You're pretty amazing with the dates. You just remember all those dates.
That's all I remember. My mom was going here.
So we didn't finish kind of talking about your dad. He also died at an early age. Your grandfather did.
Yes. My grandfather, like we said before, passed, I believe, at a political rally. He was 48 years old. My dad, him and my mom were divorced at the time. My dad lived in Secaucus. So I'd go see him, and spend time there, here and there. He's an alcoholic. He got sober. I remember I used to be in the hallways. He'd take me to the meetings. I hear the clapping in the back hallways. He'd leave me there. It's probably my first experience going to AA meetings. Young kid, 14 years old. I believe he was really getting his life back on track. From what I gathered from him. I don't know. I didn't know at the time. Maybe he was drinking here and there. I didn't know. And I'm home one night. 1985 June, I don't know the exact date, and I got a call from the lady he was dating, the daughter, and she was in a little bit of a panic, and she's saying, "Oh, He falls in the hospital. He got rushed to the hospital. I'm like, all right, what happened? So my mom, I don't believe, was home. She was working. My Aunt Nana was next door, which is his first cousin. I called my Aunt Nana and said, could you please take me to Secaucus? So we go out to Secaucus. Little did I know he came home as we're en route to go to Secaucus, and then he had a heart attack in the house. So they sent him home, said he had indigestion in the hospital. And, he went back to the house, and they tried to revive him or whatever. And I know they took him in the ambulance back to the hospital. So we get to the hospital, the doctor's holding us outside. And I'll never forget it, like clear as day. The doctor just came out with a chain. And I don't even know if I wanted to grab it. And he gave it to his girlfriend. And that was it.
So it was jewelry.
I'll never forget, my aunt, I was a 14-year-old kid, just turned 15. And my aunt gave me at the time I resented her for it, but she gave me a hard piece of reality. She said, you know what, Stu? If you live that way, you're not going to have a long life. She said, learn a lesson from your dad. I don't know, and my father just died. Right. I thought that was a pretty
intense.
I mean, we just got in the car. You know what I mean? Let's wait till the next day or after the funeral. But you know what? There was no sugarcoating. She let me see it for what it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? But did that stop me? No. I had a lot of anger in me, not from that, but I was mad, my father.
Sure.
And then I really took to the streets. You know what I mean? That's where I believe,
We have something from Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt. That was my man. Kurt was always up the house.
Before I was sort of noticing kind of a covered tattoo. Oh, yeah. Can we? I don't know if we're going to get it.
I don't like this. I don't like it. But
okay.
So what am I going to do?
We're going to come there. Cool. And that's your dad.
At the top, it says, meet you at the gates. I actually just had, my arm looks pretty good there. Look at that. I just had surgery on the shoulder. So they repaired my bicep. I have orthoscopic surgery on my shoulder, 3 different parts. So that was my dad. I did it as a tribute to him in 2003, because, I mean, I get it. My mom and dad, it was tough for my mom, no doubt about it. My brother, don't talk about him. So I said, you know what? I'll keep it from my dad. Because like I said, he did a lot for me. Although he was, he did what he did. He was out there, doing his thing, drinking and Wall Street guy, what goes on and hanging out, but he took his time and he put that love in me, for kids and
sure.
To help kids and, and it's a blessing. It's a blessing, man. So you can't, you have to be taught that. I believe that. It comes to some, a lot of people volunteer when their kids are there. You know what I mean?
Right.
For me to never have a kid in Little League, and I did 27 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So there's a love there that was given to me, and without a doubt, it's from him. And my brother still coaches. Little League. Stands at that.
So I have this image of you walking around town. You have a very distinguishable and recognizable voice. Walking around, and then people going, "That's Coach," that kind of thing. And a couple generations, right?
Without a doubt. I have kids that live in my building. They have children. The relationships I build with these kids, it goes beyond. And see, for me, it was never about just playing baseball. It's about teaching about life. What I did one year with Little League was I wanted to call it a 12-year-old day. I wish I would have more support with it, but I didn't. And what I would do is I said, give me all the 12-year-olds from each team, which is a critical point in a child's life. They're going to enter their teenage years. And I would sit them down, and I did it 2 times. And the first time I brought in some young kids from Bergen County who were D1 athletes who blew their career doing drugs. So, I'd have them talk to these kids and say, listen, man, and I still talk to a lot of kids, and I tell them it comes in a lot of different ways, shapes, and forms. You're starting to date girls now. They think you're cool with a party. Now the kids are vaping. Lord knows what they're putting in there. And the warning is don't start it because it could be genetic. Like I believe it was for me. There's no doubt about it. I believe I was born alcoholic. I had no choice. The gene is in me. From my grandfather, the picture he just showed before, I'm sure he'll bring that back to on both sides. So it hits both sides of my family. So the beauty of it is with the kids for me is, I love it. The kids, little Jake, I got to send this out there. I'm going to tell you that about Jake was like, coaching next year. I was like, Jake, I got my daughter. She's playing softball. I really need. I hope my daughter's listening. She knows I love her. I need to put more time. The good years I have left in my body physically, I'm gonna do it with my daughter playing softball. Try to take her out every day. I do a little hitting with her, catching. She needs my time. I can't give it all You know, I have to give back to my own kid. I mean, I have to do it.
Sure.
And she's showing big interest only last year and this year. When she was 7 years old, she played coach by pitch. I had to play in hardball with the boys, coach by pitch. But after that, she really didn't want to play. So then last year, she's like, Dad, I want to play softball. I was all in. I was coaching both. I was doing softball downtown and Little League. Sometimes there was 2 games the same day. So I'm running down, I'm running up, you know, but it's all right. It's all right. I have good coaches in Little League. They're the best. My friend Tony, I don't know if you're listening. Vito runs the team, and these guys are good, man. They handle it, you know.
Cool. So we're going to go back to some pictures.
Here's my grandfather.
On your mother's side?
This is my mom's dad right here.
Right.
Now, my grandfather, you know, he was a worker. Grandfather was a great carpenter. My mother said he can build without prints, rather. I worked with him. You know, me and my grandfather worked in Shooters. Remember the club Shooters when they made it Shooters?
Where was that?
Was the old Clanbrother house. The old Clanbrother house.
Oh, right.
When they turned it into Shooters.
Right.
Me and my grandfather would start like 10 in the morning. He'd be like, Stu, go, remember Toro? Go over and see a Toro. He used to run the Clanbrother house. Go get a picture. Go get a picture. Now, this is like 9 in the morning. 9, 10 in the morning. So go get a picture. One. Go get another picture. Go get a case of beer in a corner. Put it in the back. And me and my grandfather, I was 18 years old. So we were doing it like that. But my grandfather, you know, he was an alcoholic. My grandmother, I was telling Bob a story earlier. My grandmother left my grandfather at 70 years old. She finally had enough. She couldn't take care of him no more. And he was tough to deal with. My grandfather was rough around the edges. You know, I'm not going to get into all crazy stories, but he was a tough man to deal with. And my grandma, I go up there one day, there's domestic violence called to the house. And I'm like the referee, I'm sitting down there. She is. And I said, what happened? Blah, 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 blah. I can't take it no more. I want to be out of here. I'm like, come on, where are you going to go, Grandma? She started packing a bag. I said, now what am I going to do? So she moves with me in Union City. I'm renting an apartment up there at the time. And the Union City police call me. My grandfather calls them. So the lady calls. I just told the chief of the Union City police the story the other day. She's nice people. And I said, a lady officer called and she says, your grandfather's saying that you kidnapped your grandmother and have her at the house. I said, I did. And she got quiet. She says, what do you mean you did? I said, I did. I said, I want $100,000 in singles, or he's not getting them back. She starts laughing hysterical.
You're good. She started laughing.
I was laughing on the phone. My grandmother never went back.
Wow.
She was it. She broke her routine. I believe the dementia came in that way quicker because my grandmother was the lady. She walked around all town. She walked around town. And everybody would say, hey, they knew it was my grandmother. You want to ride? You want to ride? And my grandma would be like, nah. She walked everywhere. One of the most favorite times, my grandma lived with us, and this picture is probably, look how skinny I am. You know what I was doing back then. Mm-hmm. From 1985 to 1991, my grandmother moved in with us. And it was the most fun ever. My grandmother was the best. She was hysterical. Look at her laughing. She was my favorite. Man. Besides my mom, my grandmother, my grandmother chipped in and raised me without a doubt. She'd cook for me all the time. She'd let me in the morning if I was on an all-night run out on the street, and she'd cook for me. She'd make me food in the morning, and then my mom would be getting ready to come home at night. And me and my mom were probably at odds because I was doing what I was doing on the street, and I'd leave the house, and then it'd be the same routine every day, you know. And then when my grandmother, Steve Capiello, rest his soul, he got my grandmother and grandfather in the Madison Columbian Arms on the senior building, and I would probably eat. Let's say I started of eating in the habit of eating in my grandmother's house in 1983 when I was 13 because my mom and dad just separated, and my mom was working, busting her ass to take care of me and my brother. That's where I get my work ethic from. My mom, no doubt about it. My mom didn't complain. She didn't moan and groan. She went to work and handled the business. And it took a woman, in my case, to raise a man. And there's no doubt my mother stepped up for me. And I'd eat at my grandmother's in 83, and it lasted till about 2000 and whatever, because she wound up moving around the corner for me. And I was with my first wife. I'd like to see my grandma got. My grandmother, it was the best. I had grandma around the corner. She called me up, Stewie, I got your favorite stuffed calamari. Let's go. Come on. I mean, it was awesome. I was spoiled, man. I was spoiled. My grandmother, she was I would have cooked. Oh my gosh, she was the best. Never looked at a cookbook. Everything was off the top of the head. She was the best.
Wow.
Two Jimmy and Gabe, her two brothers, both deaf mutes.
Really?
Went to deaf school. both married women who were deaf. I used to go over the house, and Jimmy and Margie used to be there. You know, I don't know if you know Uncle Jimmy. Jimmy used to work at Fiore's. He used to go like this all the time. Boom, boom. That meant he had the prosciutto bone. So I go there and get the prosciutto bone. My grandmother make the prosciutto. You never had, people don't even know what real pasta bazool is. Pasta bazool is with the bone in there, the neck bone from the cow. Oh my God, it was. I'll never change the way I grew up. I don't care where you put me in the world.
Sure.
I'm staying downtown Hoboken with my family.
So, so the relatives that are hearing impaired, are they signing, or how are they communicating?
Oh my God, at the table, I don't want to make fun of it, man, but I mean, like, if I was under the influence or something, I go over the house, they'd be Margie and Jimmy and Margie used to be at the house, husband and wife, and they'd be yelling at each other. They'd be like, it was the best. It was, and I loved them. They would have. Jimmy used to give you the, and Margie, you know, like, the hello. You know what I mean? So when you come in, it was amazing. My grandmother did perfect sign language. My grandmother would communicate them with sign language. It was unbelievable.
Right.
It was unbelievable to watch. You know,
I can see it. I mean, it was awesome. You know, just this.
It's going to be my one-man show. I'm going to put in the play together as we speak.
So you're going to be all of them?
Everybody in the show.
Okay.
Can't give too much away.
So, yeah. We're going to have to speed dial this a little bit.
What's going on? How much time we got left?
Well, we're at 7:55, but we got some great stories, but we want to get into your acting life too. But anyway, tell us the story about this shop. We're on what? Willow and like 15th or 14th?
14th Street on the corner, which used to be where they used to do the Macy's floats.
On the right.
For how many years? You know.
Over 30.
I don't know.
Yeah, 60s.
We used to watch them come out all the time. It was awesome.
It was.
So I mean, me personally, you know, whatever it took to make $1, I did it. How this came about, my friend Tony had a garage on the corner. Now, Tony was the ultimate hustler. He was always into something. He was flipping condos in the late 80s. This guy was he just had it. Whatever he touched, it worked. So he had a great garage on the corner. We had this truck, and the fruit idea came in. I forgot who brought it up to us. So I said, I don't know if you know Hobie Trapani. Hobie Trapani from Trapani used to give me his tan Mercedes. I used to go to the fruit market in Newark in the morning with a tan Mercedes, one of the old school ones with the big, I don't even know what model it was. Pick up all the fruit, bring the fruit over. My good friend Patty Burke, rest his soul, Patty Burke had worked in the fruit industry for years. So Patty used to come over and fool the truck. So now while you see the Devils t-shirts there, this was 1995. The Devils were in the Cup. That was actually one day. Yeah. Now hockey, I can care less about hockey. I'm not a hockey guy, but I had a guy who printed t-shirts up in Jersey City, and he'd bring me down maybe 50 dozen t-shirts and say, "Stu, sell them, give me half." And he'd take care of me. So he had this particular day, Nikki's on the corner in the chair. That's Nikki Bettatatis right there. Nikki, I don't know if Nikki's watching, but these two guys are walking towards the car. Their badges aren't out yet. So he's going, "Hey, this will look good on you." And they ripped out badges with a lawyer from the NHL. And I said, "I'm not giving you the shirts in the beginning. Give me the shirt. I'm not giving you nothing." I said, "How are you taking these shirts? I don't even know who you are. We're going to call a Hoboken cop." I forgot who came to Hoboken College Store. You have to give it to him. So I made a big stink about these shirts. "You're not taking my last shirts." They took my shirts. I huffed and puffed and pouted. Then me and Nikki started laughing because we had about 15 dozen more shirts, and they came in the front of the truck. We put it right back out. We watched them. Then we went right over the bridge, and they were probably heading out to the Meadowlands because the guy who made these shirts, I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you where he's at anymore. I don't remember his name. He did concerts all over the country. And that's all he did was print shirts and go make money. You know, so
nice touch.
It was illegal. I'm going to say.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like, you know.
Yeah. But nice touch with the table
Like
and the
that,
red
right?
chair.
Devil's t-shirt. What does it say? What does it say up top?
$8.
2 for $8. 2 for $8, I think.
2 for $8.
Or 2 for 10? I don't know. 8 to
There's definitely $8 sounds like the right price, actually. So
Nikki used to get mad. Nikki wanted half when I was making. So Nikki, you can't get a half. You're not a partner. You're just a worker here.
So really,
the
truck selling fruit is almost like a cover.
Nah, not really. I mean, we made money. I would say on the fruit truck, we probably made $200 a day.
Wow.
You don't even see that no more on the corner, right?
No.
City, West New York.
Yeah,
you see it
Bobby Franti.
Bobby was the man, of course. That was the original. I mean, I didn't do this for a long time. I did this maybe one summer.
Right.
I was there.
Sure.
It was an idea. We said, let's do it. Why not?
Right.
We made money. It was a great corner. I mean, come on, you know that area. You could park everywhere, right? Right beyond the truck, everybody used to pull over. It was awesome.
For a while, there would be food trucks just parked there. too.
Yeah.
I can remember
not
that.
really, not all day there, but well, the factory was active on the corner.
Right,
At the time. Yeah, that's true.
Right, because you could tell there was like no air in the tires of the food truck. It was there so long. Exactly. So moving ahead here. Okay.
Look at this guy.
Okay. Wow, pretty
intense. I told Bob I'm the best actor nobody's ever heard of.
Okay. Well,
now here's crazy. How do I mean, I always loved it. I was a kid. We do plays and all that stuff in school. But I always wanted to get into it, was too scared maybe because I'm not going to make it. And obviously I'm not a famous actor, but how this came about, the lady on that puts Catherine Gaffin, a great acting teacher and a good friend that was actually in her apartment. Catherine Gaffin, she was a wonderful lady. She passed away a few years ago. She had paralysis on the spine. She was a big-time Broadway actress. She did plays with John Boyd from the Waltons. She did a play with Dustin Hoffman. She did many TV commercials, movie, everything. Catherine was awesome, man. Catherine Gaffin is her name. Gaffin, I believe. And she gave me the love. She encouraged me like a mom. You can do it, Stu. You can do it. I'm telling you. So she got me my first job. I did a voiceover in New York in this beautiful studio about a soldier reading home a letter to his daughter from Iraq. It was awesome. The Gilda Alderman studio, I believe, in New York, something like that. They paid us cash. It was nice. I mean, I'm not SAG or anything like that, but I still get a small part here and there. I actually was on TV 2 Sundays ago. Well, I'll put Netflix. It wasn't Netflix. It was NTD. It's called The Good Cop. And the producers are real nice guys, real friendly. David Chai is the director. He's up and coming. It's about 3 cops following their lives in New York City. Hopefully I can get back on it. I'm going to resend them out some stuff I did. Right now I'm working on a short film with my friend Paul Fagione. If Paul's listening, Paul looks just like John Gotti. Me and Paul were both cast in CNBC's Empires in New York. I was Sammy the Bull. He was John Gotti. So we built our relationship off that. So we're doing a little more serious work with it now. And then I actually dying to get I've been writing my play. I have a producer who's interested in it. He'll put up the money. He'll fund it. John Lupo, good friend of mine. He's Darryl Strawberry, actually. He's business manager. And, I'm just putting things in motion. I have another feature I'm going to be in. I have a small part playing a cop for a director named Joshua Nelson. I was actually in a short film for him over the summer, and I'm just keep rolling. You know what I mean? I just keep putting my, I submit for auditions. It's so easy to submit for auditions today because, back in the days, you actually had to go to Daily News and get the backstage paper just to see if there was anything available, or you'd have to go into Manhattan and grab the backstage paper. There was no online back then. So now it's easy. You see it, you submit, you record it. And Jerry Law is my main man. Jerry Law does all my recording. If I do audition, I send it in. So it's awesome. You know what I mean?
Here's Break a Leg from Ray Guzman.
Ray.
Great Hoboken.
What's up, Ray?
Yeah. So I have this image of you have your, in a sense, day job at City Hall, but you have aspirations.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I can just see you going, hey, I got to take off on Monday because, I got to play John Gotti's younger brother or whatever.
We're actually doing, I'm doing the short myself, me and my friend Paul Fagione, and we're just going to put it together.
Right.
It's who's that? What a great talk.
Okay, Tiffany Fisher, Councilman Fisher. What a great talks. Congrats.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for yesterday for tabling what I talked about, actually. Thank all you guys, the whole council. Appreciate it.
Very cool. And Tiffany has been tunes in quite often, and great to hear her comments. So what actor do you think you emulate, let's say in looks or style or...
That's De Niro right there.
That is De Niro.
Is everybody seeing that picture? Who did Bob say? Bob said Tony Danza.
Right. Well, it's sort of like a few people, but it is classic.
First of all, let's talk about the name. I'm the only Italian that I've not known one other Italian with the name Stuart. In my life, I have not met another. I'm 51. I'm going to be 52 in May.
Right.
I have never met another Italian named Stuart. And also, let's talk about a wonderful series that I love to push to anybody who's listening now about Bob's favorite man in the world, Tommy Hanley. It's called Steel Piers. Me and Tommy got together years ago, maybe 10. We sat down. He gave me a ton of stories. I put a pilot together with my friend Giuseppe Arzone. He joined in on it, and Frank Giganti was also involved with it. And we have a wonderful pilot. We have an outline for the series. It's about Tommy's life. It's about a man who had a great acting career and then became the go-to guy, the go-to guy to the mob, the union workers, and the powers that be on the Hoboken waterfront in 1968. Phenomenal story of Tommy Haley. It was an 8-time Oscar award-winning movie. Traded lines with the most heavyweight actor of our time, Marlon Brando, as a young kid. And Tommy's my main man. I hope Tommy's listening now. Tommy, Bob wants you on the show, so you have the best Hoboken story ever, Tommy. You are the man.
Agreed.
That's my boy.
And of course, we were talking about the film On the Waterfront.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But not everyone might know. So, wow. Okay, we got a little more here. And
tell us, do another hour, Bob.
We could. I think we're gonna have. I think we're gonna. This was phase one, and you know, let
me just say this: how this came about. And John Lubo was the producer on this, who was actually Darryl Strawberry's business partner, who is my daughter's godfather. Love the guy to death. Met John, say in 2008. There's Lucille Burke there holding her son, Patty Burke. Patty Burke was a phenomenal baseball player, number one. You know, and Patty went out to Florida. He played out there, and he came back. And Patty died sober. That's Patty's story. Patty was not under the influence. All those people are sober in that picture. Henry Bentley, remember Henry used to walk the streets all the time. God rest his soul. Henry died 2010 cancer. What happened with Patty was how this came about. John Lupo called me up one Sunday and says, Patty's not answering the door. What's going on? Long story short, we call Lucille. We think Patty might have drank. Maybe he relapsed. We bust the door down. I find Patty on the floor. Patty was dead. And this is how we started this documentary. But, you know, the story of Patty is, you know, he did a lot of damage to his body through alcohol and drugs, and that was ultimately alcohol. That was, you know, Patty used to sleep under the City Hall steps in Hoboken. You know, Patty was my man. Patty was like somebody who looked up to, you know, when he was playing ball, and he was just, you know, he was that guy. He was a great guy, you know. And this happened. We put this documentary together. We got an award for it in the festival. Bob screened it here for us. Tommy Hanley was in this documentary. I mean, it was awesome. We had a ball, man. We had a good time doing it, and it still sells. It makes money on Amazon still to today. You know, so, you know, things, you know, it was the first thing I was ever involved in. It was a wonderful experience, you know. Jimmy Green, there's Jimmy Green right there. Jimmy Green was Patty's best friend right there.
Wow. I remember that screening.
Green's a good man, Jimmy Green.
I remember that screening, and it was pretty intense. You know, because the people,
it was pretty good.
It was good.
I mean, we never made a movie before.
Right.
We just, you know, we had a guy who just shot it. He cut it. I was with him every day. My wife, I'll tell you the story. My wife broke her water, and I got the phone on the bed. And I'm in a raised apartment. I'm sitting down. We're cutting. Take that out. Take that out. And I saw like 8-10 missed calls. My wife still gives me hell for it today. She brought her water broke. I said, why didn't you go downstairs? Well, I'm sitting on the floor. She was sitting on the floor. Water's broke on the floor. Oh, my God. Abe, that's how you were born, Abe. Tom
thanks, Stewie. Hoboken is alive to you. Telephone Tom.
All right, Tom. There you go.
Okay. But I remember many of the people in the film were in the room. And just to sort of see them, you know, in these two platforms, there were a lot of wet eyes in the house.
A lot of people that were in the documentary also passed away. Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
Okay. So
what else?
I think we're kind of segueing out. I usually bring up a few thank yous, comments.
Let me plug one more thing.
Go ahead.
Guardian IOP. I'm involved with these people also. I work for them. Anybody needs help, I'll go on drugs. You know I'm the guy anyway. You're going to come see me. But just to put it out there, we have a program in Hoboken. We have, you know, rehab facilities out, everything. So I'm also involved with them now. All I do is, you know, phone work for them. It's awesome. It's just another way to people know, look, there is somewhere to go, a good place, you know, and it's help. So,
can you say it again? The
Guardian IOP.
Guardian IOP.
It's right in Hoboken, 3341 Newark Street is the office. That's where the outpatient takes place, and all the other facilities are scattered around the country. So, you know, it's a big organization, but very good people. Met them, you know, through a friend in recovery. So
right.
It's another outlet for me to, you know, help.
Right. You know, for the way I handle these talks, I just I sort of wing it, and I'm never sure where we're going to go. And you were, you know, pretty intense. And I think it was calm. I learned a lot. Yeah,
he's laughing.
No, it was great, and I could see doing another one. And
No doubt.
if there's a way,
When I become a known actor, me and Bob is going to be my headquarters. I'll do my one-man play right here when we get home.
Obviously, we're probably not big enough for people.
See this girl here that just called in now?
Yeah.
Dina?
Stu is truly in a class of his own.
That is the best mom in the country right there. Dina's totally dedicated to her boy. That lady's a hero right there. Believe me, I'll tell you.
Okay.
No doubt about it.
So bring some of your crew to the museum. Come visit. Come,
Absolutely.
connect with us.
Jay, you want a mask, Jay? I'm trying to get a mask with Hoboken on. He's saying he's not sure.
We got one.
We're gonna look one for you. All right.
Yeah, we'll dig it out. Okay.
Jay, hold on. Yeah, we got one for you.
That's right. That's Stu's payment for today's.
Hoboken Talks.
Yes, definitely. Again, thank you, Stuart, for joining us.
Thank you.
Do you want to mention that?
I like to say this on the way out. I'd like to thank Bob for preserving Hoboken history, for doing this, because, I mean, as far as I know, there's no competition. I don't think anybody else is doing what you're doing in the town. And, I don't believe, you get enough props for what you do. And this is like awesome, man. For a guy like me who was born and raised in Hoboken, I'm here 51 years besides moving out, maybe a year or two. And it's like, our history is dwindling away. And you're preserving what's, left, what made this town great. You know what I mean? So I thank you for that.
Thank you. And of course, it's a crew. And mentioning Rand Hoppe, who's here, he's our producer.
Thank you.
Bill Curran, Lois DeLivio, who did PR. And I'm forgetting someone, I'm sure. But
who called me in the car when I was in the car? She called me.
It was probably Lois.
I had to laugh at that. I said, tell Bob to introduce himself and just be quiet. I'll take over from there.
It was true. She didn't tell me that. Okay, sorry to interrupt. This was a one-man show.
There you go. Okay.
There we go. Upcoming talks will be with John Chaney. That'll be next week. I have the privilege of doing the interview of John. John worked for, or still works for, the Macy's Parade Studio. And I believe he started in the 1960s. So he's kind of the oldest employee, has been there the most time. And he's like a master parade float builder, which is a very specialized thing. Really, and then, of course, Bernie Kenny will be introduced by Mark Singleton, who's been hosting. Yeah, definitely.
I'll just watch.
And you watch it. You can type in.
Yeah, I don't want to be too
Bernie has many, shall we say, credits, and I think he was the head of the New Jersey State Assembly, state senator. Lived here. It still lives here for most of his life. Still
helps a ton of people. Bernie.
Right.
Very good man. Helped me tremendously.
And should put in the plug for Bernie. Bernie secured a $100,000 grant so that we could rehab the museum when he was U.S. Senator,
and he also allocated a lot of money to Anthony Russo when he was the mayor back then too. He helped out.
Really? Okay, that's news to me.
We'll ask. He helped the town.
Right. We'll ask Bernie about that.
Bernie always helped Hoboken.
Okay, that is true. And we do have different sponsors that help make this show possible. One is a recent estate gift from Mel Kiernan. And if anyone's interested in estate planning, we usually aren't this direct about it, but we are, a nonprofit 501c3. And many people, when they plan their estates, are thinking of the museum. We've been here over 30 years, so it's not like we're going to disappear. So we are, shall we say, a good investment. And then the New Jersey Historical Commission, a state agency, helped get us equipment for this and is always helping us with grants to do all our programming. In addition, the same type of support from the New Jersey Council for the Humanities. So we get a lot of support from the state level. So that means we're probably doing a good job. And then we do have a gift group of individual patrons who we don't really want to mention all of them at this time. And that's referred to as the Shipyard Circle. And we thank them with signage in the museum. And again, Hoboken's a great town. And a lot of it is from the people, just like Stu was talking about. It's really people. And you can still walk around town and have a conversation, look people in the eyeballs. And we are friendly to someone who just moved here or someone who's lived their entire life. There's no separation in our mind. And it's all about how open you are. Applied Development Companies is, shall we say, our main sponsor with a very generous lease. So we'll be here for a long time. And we thank them every day, in a sense, as we open our doors to the public. And our current exhibit is downstairs on the main floor. It's called The Avenue, The History of Washington Street. And it's pretty awesome. And we kind of tell the story of all the different businesses that were here. And it'll be up for a while, so come visit. We're open 6 days a week. And then in our upper gallery, we continue for, I believe, another week showing the work of Karen Gertsch. Karen went to the circus school here in Hoboken in the 1970s, which most people don't really know about, went on to work in the circus, and then started to, shall we say, chronicle or interpret the circus with her paintings. And they're pretty awesome. And then when Karen's work comes down, we will be doing an exhibit up here by Liz and Ibu Noy. And it's called Adjacent. And that will open on March 6th and will run till May 1st. The upper gallery exhibits change every 6 weeks. And I would say we have featured pretty much every prominent artist in Hoboken. And we, one of the main ways we can sort of increase our circles of viewers is to actually go on to YouTube and become a subscriber. And that will give us certain ranking, in a sense, so that we can put the word out, in a bigger way, shall we say. And so we are kind of ending up. Sorry for the long exit. You probably would have liked to hear Stu talk a little more, but I think we gave you a pretty good due. So Stu, thank you one more time. You want us to give a last shout out with your classic voice?
Ava, I love you, my daughter.
Excellent.
Guys. Liz, love you.
We are segueing